Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ango show. We are here live, and it is Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. Billy TKO is back on the show. Billy, welcome back, brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Billy is a real trooper. As you guys know, yesterday he had to leave the live show yesterday. He had a little bit of an emergency. We're not going to talk about that, but Billy did text me last night, letting me know everything was okay. Today he gets ready for the live show, and it turns out his laptop's not working. So he's calling an audible. He's still making it work. He's off his phone. So I greatly appreciate it. I think really what matters today is the conversation that we have,
Right.
because there is definitely something to talk about. Definitely something to talk about, and maybe it'll lead into a really good debate. Maybe it won't, but who knows? um, shout out to everybody in the chat, man. We already got the viewers coming in pretty early for this one, so I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Today's show is brought to you by our good friends at Blacksmith Apparel. I have become a proud partner of Blacksmith Apparel, and if you guys want, really, this is such a cool like partnership, like a cool thing, a cool company to work with. Because I don't know if you guys have seen Blacksmith Apparel, but if you ever look at those jerseys that like Will Ospreay wears, or some of the guys from New Japan or TNA with the tracksuits and stuff, there's like the Bullet Club jerseys. Basically, Blacksmith Apparel makes cool ass wrestling gear that you can wear. Everybody knows how I feel about wrestling merchandise. I hardly wear it. I think WWE and AEW has been relatively poopy. Blacksmith Apparel kind of fixes that, right? So, of course, with that being said, you guys can use code ANGO for 15% off and get yourself some new gear. I got some stuff coming in the mail. I'm super excited about it. Billy.
Yo.
Yesterday was a crazy day, bro. It was, I'm sure you've seen the clips by now.
Yeah.
The Rock on Pat McAfee show.
Yes, sir. Oh, God. Oh,
there's so much I want to talk about, but I just want to get like your initial reaction to it.
My initial reaction is like, this man, excuse me, I'm about to say this, but this man has some nuts. He's got some honkers on him, getting ready to go out there and just, you don't show up to WrestleMania and you decide to go on Pat McAfee show. Then you tell me the reason why you did the Elimination Chambers because ticket sales were low. That was funny. Initial reaction was just, what the fuck? There we go.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, man, I feel like I get so frustrated here, if I could be honest, because I feel like The Rock has kind of undermined Triple H. I think he's kind of undermined the WWE in some sense. And my reaction to it has been relatively negative, which is crazy because I'm actually receiving a lot of blowback on social media about it. But I think everybody just wants to push this anti-Triple H narrative. And it's not that Triple H needs me to defend him, but I think what really needs to be said needs to be said. And I think I'm very disappointed in seeing The Rock on Pat McAfee. Like, I genuinely am disappointed in that. And I think, there's just so much to talk about. Guys, I want to hear what you think too. So as always, drop your super chats. It's guaranteed that your questions, comments will get read. We're going to talk NXT as well, but this is where I want to start because I have a very bold prediction, but I do believe in some sense that Triple H could potentially get worked out of WWE because of The Rock. And I know this sounds like such a weird thing, but when The Rock is on Pat McAfee and he says, Ary Emanuel calls me and says ticket sales are low. We need you to come in. Let's disregard the things that were said after. But when I hear that, I think if that is 100% true, I think The Rock's relationship with Ary Emanuel could be the thing that forces Triple H out down the line.
Really?
I do.
And now I need you to elaborate a little bit further on that, on why you think that may be, because I do hear what you're saying, and I think I may have a clue of where you're going with this, but I just want you to elaborate a little bit more.
I think it really ties down to a couple things. It boils down to a couple things that I again, this is just me like theorizing. This is not based on public knowledge, but I think with Triple H, when he went on the Pat McAfee show and he's talking about Ary Emanuel calling him and all these different things. And then he says, I would have done things a little bit differently creatively. To me, it seems like this man is, I think he is trying to protect himself and not the company. And I think because of his loyalty and his ties to Nick Khan and to Ary Emanuel, if this doesn't get fixed, if this is now worked on, I think it is going to either force Triple H out or Triple H will eventually leave.
So, okay. Obviously, there's some type of tension there with all of these people, right? They're not clicking maybe the way that they're supposed to be. So I hear you with what you're saying, and I actually believe that that could be true, because obviously Rock has a certain mindset of how he would quote unquote like things to be ran. That is, I'm just gonna go out and say it. It's more selfish, kind of like you said a moment ago. A lot of things are done selfishly. You know, Triple H kind of looks at the broader scheme of things, and I think you can compare that to the finish of WrestleMania Night 2 up until Monday Night Raw. I think you can go based off that and just see the differences right there. Regardless of that fact, I'm very much with you in this circumstance that I don't think it's gonna knock Triple H out right away, and I don't think, you know, as much as I want to sit here and be hopeful that, you know, this couldn't happen, obviously there's such a possibility with politics playing such an important role. You know, obviously The Rock owning some of WWE and TKO or whatever it is, he obviously probably has the bigger voice than maybe Triple H does, because I don't know personally if Triple H has any stock or anything like that. You know, I think they're just looking at him as more of just the guy who gets it and is helping their company further. But then you get a phone call of ticket sales being low. Obviously, something isn't clicking, right? The problem with it is, I could tell you what's not clicking. It's that to buy tickets to a show, I literally have to give you my arm and my leg, and it's beyond expensive. And then you're questioning why tickets are so low and you can't, nobody's coming. That'd be why. And people are still going. That's the thing. So I don't get it. But regardless of the fact, I think it's foolish. I think it's silly of everything that The Rock did.
Well, I think what even makes it funnier is Elimination Chamber at that point in time, before, like a month before The Rock even showed up, it was already at like 29 or 30,000 seats. So I do have I do have this weird belief that wasn't necessarily. I think that was being said, and maybe Ary Emanuel did call him. I'm not saying they didn't. You know, TKO is going to try to maximize every possibility, but to sit there and kind of make it look like Triple H, I feel like it undermines Triple H. I feel like it undermines the company.
For sure.
It feels very, and it's tough because I feel like I have so much love and respect for The Rock and what he's done in professional wrestling and coming in as the final boss. And I've actually been on board with him being a board member. I think it was a great thing. But I just think for him to make those comments, it was like, I don't know, very self-centered too. It felt very self-centered, and it felt like he was kind of coming in and being like, hey, they needed me. And then it was funny because he made the comment too where he's like, I look at John Cena and Cody and I call him and I say, guys, we just did the best wrestling angle ever. The final boss is out. I'm not needed. And that was the thing that I genuinely don't like about this whole thing with Pat McAfee and The Rock. Like, The Rock coming here, says he gets a call. Like, he wasn't planned for WrestleMania, and he gets a call. And this is where I call The Rock out a little bit, and you could kind of respond to that. But he says he gets the call. He shows up, makes the moment. But he says it was a temperature check for Cody turning heel. But by doing a temperature check, you planted a seed, by the way, with like, hey, you're selling your soul. The minute that he said you're selling, like, I want your soul, it immediately became a story of, hey, somebody's going to start selling their soul. It's very clear. There's
Yeah.
no way that's a temperature check. If you want to do a temperature check of Cody turning heel, then you have Cody Rhodes have a couple heelish tendencies and see what the crowd's response is. You don't sit there and start a new angle. And I think The Rock knew he wasn't going to be in WrestleMania.
I think he knew too.
He knew deep down he wasn't going to be part of WrestleMania, and I do believe in that part. But what really bothered me was several months ago, he was the one that was telling people not to listen to Dave Meltzer and the Dirt Sheets. To be honest, he was the one that was like, hey, like the Dirt Sheets have said I'm not going to be there. Don't listen to those guys. Like he was on Instagram saying that. So
yeah, I remember.
Bro, I don't know. I feel like WWE got this like PR. It's like a PR spin for The Rock to save himself.
Yeah, for sure.
To make WWE look bad. And some people are coming out with this like narrative, by the way, that The Rock has kind of, in a weird way, he's kind of doing this because he didn't get his way with him versus Cody at WrestleMania 40. And I know like that's a conspiracy, but part of me thinks like, damn, it's interesting.
Well, here's the thing: yes, it is a conspiracy, but look at all the things that are happening. We're starting to witness that. Hey, The Rock. Let's be real here. At first, we thought it was all for the greater good, right? Come to find out, a lot of this is being done selfishly. Yeah. At least, again, that is what you're showing me. Yeah. When you're showing me selfish, that's what I'm going to start to believe about you. So that conspiracy theory that you just brought up of him not getting his way against, Cody, I fully 1000% can get behind that. Or even so much as saying of him not getting the match with Roman. I'm not sure how much he actually wanted that match. Just so many different things of just him not getting his way. This could easily be that. Now, here's the thing. Rock is aware that he is going on there and he is technically undermining everything that the WWE is currently doing, right? At some point, you have to look at that. And this is to TKO. At some point, you have to look at that and think like, oh, man, like at first what we thought was a good idea by putting this man on the show may have actually been a horrible idea and just completely turned everything against us. Because now you look silly. Now you look like a bunch of goofballs. You're telling me that this may, oh yeah, it's for the greater good. It's for the betterment of the story. No, it's not. No, the betterment of the story would have had you being there and just at least, I don't care if we ever sell his soul again, but at least for the betterment of that angle, you being involved, helping Cena get 17.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have another person come with you. None of that shit matters anymore. But if you are going to just, technically what you did yesterday was laugh in my face, say, ha ha, I did whatever the hell I wanted to, and I don't care what you think. I don't know, man. I hated it.
Yeah. One thing that's really crazy too is like, and I understand that a lot of people have mixed feelings on WrestleMania. I didn't hate WrestleMania. So I'm not going to sit here and bash WrestleMania. But remember how I kept saying in our review show, I said, man, I wanted more.
It was underwhelming.
Well, why did I want more from that main event? Well, it's all because of The Rock. And so what's crazy is if Elimination Chamber was doing something where maybe like they were trying to sell more tickets, like let's say that's true. Ary Emanuel wants to sell more tickets. Part of me comes to this belief where it's like, okay, well, why did you have John Cena sell his soul at Elimination Chamber? Why not actually have that moment end WrestleMania night 2? Why is it like if they knew he wasn't going to be at WrestleMania, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know Triple H and Ary Emanuel. I don't know how much Triple H is in those meetings. I don't know. At the end of the day, he's just head of creative. The Rock is a board member. It is different. But part of me wonders to a certain extent, like, okay, why not have that moment be the moment that ends WrestleMania? You have Travis Scott and The Rock. Like literally what you do is at Elimination Chamber, you have The Rock come out. Like you do a match with Cody. Cody defends his belt successfully. And to end the show, The Rock cuts a promo. And The Rock says, Cody, I respect you. I love you. You are the guy that I want to build this company around. I don't want your title. I want your soul. And you have until WrestleMania to give me your soul. And then what you do is John Cena wins the chamber, right? You go to WrestleMania, and in the match, The Rock is expecting Cody's answer. during the match, during the ref bump. He gives Cody brass knuckles, or he does something and it gives him a chair or some shit, and Cody turns it down.
And then Cena does it.
Cena hits him with a low blow, sells his soul, and wins number 17 with Travis Scott and The Rock and John Cena. Imagine how much better it would have been if they did something like that than at Elimination Chamber. Because if The Rock wasn't going to be part of WrestleMania, he wasn't going to have a match at WrestleMania, then even better. What you do is you don't even have The Rock show up at WrestleMania. The SmackDown before The Rock can show up and, hey, you didn't give me your answer. And Cody says, you will find out tomorrow at WrestleMania. And, ref bump, whatever. Like, there was so many different ways to go about it. And really what this comes down to is I feel like Triple H and The Rock I think they're at odds. I think The Rock, even the way The Rock was talking about, like, oh, it was great. I could have, maybe just a couple adjustments here and there. It's like, brother, you undermined your whole entire company that you're a board member for.
Yeah, I want to say something too, because this whole conversation has been based off of when it started, that Triple H could leave potentially, right? It could push him out.
Yeah.
I just want people to know, and I hope WWE, because I can imagine I won't be the only person that says this, that I'm not saying that your product will die if Triple H is gone. I'm not going to say that. But what I will say is that you will lose a lot of the heart and soul of what your company is. So it's one thing to own a company. It's another thing to keep its structure. Triple H provides structure to the WWE. Now, as we seen yesterday, whether you love him, whether you hate him, The Rock is obviously a big deal. At the end of the day, he doesn't fully commit, right? If you're not fully committed into something, then just don't be there at all. Don't make that a number one thing that you need to do. Just because you say, oh, I love the WWE, you can love the WWE from a distance. I promise you're allowed to. And we don't need you all the time. In fact, we don't even need you at all now, right? If you're going to be a part, be a part. If you're not, go.
Yep.
Don't ruin the things that us as fans pay for, love, and appreciate. Because again, I'm not saying that it will kill your company, but what I'm saying is you will lose the core foundation of what made WWE the WWE in the first place.
Well, look at The Rock as soon as he came back. And I'm going to explain to you guys my biggest gripe about this. Like, it's not even just the interview that bothered me, but when The Rock came back, Brian Gerwitz came back, right? Brian Gerwitz, if Triple H got removed, The Rock is going to have Ary Emanuel. He's going to vouch to Ary Emanuel. Hey, this is a guy who's done it before. He's a great writer. This is my guy. They know this. They're aware of that. They would probably make Brian Gerwitz the writer. I'm not saying Brian Gerwitz would kill the WWE creatively. I don't know. I can't sit there and speak on the future like that. But what I could say is when it comes to The Rock, and I see the chat saying, well, Rock's not the boss. This guy is getting paid $30 million to be an executive board member of TKO, who has personal ties to Ary Emanuel and Nick Khan. Okay? I hate to tell people this because I know people don't want to actually admit this, but this is how sleazy salespeople are. At the end of the day, sleazy salespeople, brother, you could be loyal to a company for 20 years. And these people, which by the way, they all come from sales backgrounds, these people are going to sit there and they're going to say, I know you've been loyal to our company for 20 years and we'll let you keep your job. But on the other hand, we need to make a change creatively. So Triple H, you're going to be directly going to The Rock. You're going to go directly to Brian Gerwitz before things get finalized. I'm just saying, like, that's a possibility. Like, it's a very big possibility that eventually this could get to the point where the company, I feel like, would have more loyalty to The Rock than they would to Triple H. Now, this is the thing that really, really got me going and really upset more than anything. The Rock can sit here on the Pat McAfee thing and say, I wasn't, hey, the job is done. The final boss is done. The final boss isn't needed, right? He could sit there and say that. He set up an angle for WrestleMania.
1000%.
That's the
and he
opposite.
knew what The problem is he knew what it was leading to. He knew WrestleMania was coming. It's not like, oh, it's like Backlash and we got 9 months, 10 months, 11, however.
Yeah.
He knew it was a month away.
They ended Elimination Chamber with a major angle to sell WrestleMania.
Yes.
So here's the thing. If what The Rock is saying is true, that's completely fine. However, The Rock was the one. He was the one. Not us, not the dirt sheets. The Rock was the one who publicly came out and said, don't listen to the dirt sheets.
Yep.
So, in my opinion, the way that I look at this is like The Rock not only undermined WWE, but I think he undermined WWE and Triple H specifically. And then to make matters worse, he goes public to talk about it and being like, I'm not involved with this. He wants to be there when shit is good, but when shit hits the fan, he's got to save. He's got to save himself.
He's got a movie to film. He's got something to do. He's got other things that obligations that he must. Again, that goes back to if you're not in, don't be in. Just go. I promise you, you can own some of that company and not play a single part of it. Go back to Vince McMahon. He ruined that shit towards the end and still owned it.
Yeah.
You could be an owner and just sit on the sidelines. I promise you can. I get it. You love the WWE because of what it has done for you. Okay, if you love it, leave it alone. No, John Cena is a perfect example of that.
No. If you love it, you don't have to leave it alone. Just don't be part of a major angle.
Boom. There you go. You can come out and do some shit whenever you want to.
We got Stone Cold Steve Austin coming out announcing the attendance. The Rock, you could do that.
Yeah. If you want to do some shit with like, I don't know, like if you want a funny angle at WrestleMania, you grab some of the shitbag heels who doesn't have a lot of, kind of like what he did years ago at WrestleMania 32 or whatever.
Show up and endorse somebody. I don't care. I don't know. And it's like, I think I get frustrated with it too, a little bit because of the fact that we saw him at Bad Blood. Mm-hmm. And we saw this whole thing. Like, I don't know what happened with the whole bloodline thing, but the bloodline thing was dropped essentially with The Rock. And
well, here's the thing, right? Is he does all this, and people like you and I who speculate things, and we go out there and we tried to read the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing what we think is a very good job. And then for it to just be turned around, and not saying you and I are the end all be all or anything like that, and not like we matter or anything, but we're fans at the end of the day, and our voices should matter at some degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're coming out here, we're talking about people selling their soul, we're giving our speculation, we're doing all this and that, to ultimately just be like, yeah, no, the final boss's work here is done. I don't think I have to do anymore. Okay, well, now everybody looks silly. Not only do you look silly, but everybody else does too, right?
Yeah, and I want to address this. We do have some super chats to get to, but I saw this comment in Double R says, you guys are mad at The Rock because you fantasy booked the conclusion of the story different than how it played out. That's your fault. So let's address this. One, I'm not mad.
No.
I wasn't mad even at the post show. I said, what did I say? John Cena said exactly what he's going to do, and he did it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What did I say? What else did I say? I said, is this it? Has nothing to do with the fantasy booking. It has everything to do with the fact that The Rock showed up and planted a story. And John Cena won, which is fine. I'm happy with that. Travis Scott was there. Cool. I'm not even mad about Travis Scott, right? I didn't complain about any of these things. But The Rock basically forced Triple H to have continuity with the missing piece that was the most important piece.
He made his most important person in Triple H look silly. That's what makes me mad.
No, it's not that though. Like, literally think about this. Triple H is forced to have continuity from this angle from Elimination Chamber. But the problem is the person who is actually the main piece of the story isn't there.
Yes, so that makes because that whole night, do you remember how the underwhelming feeling? Okay, maybe not you because you did not do this, right?
No.
But people, what the hell is Triple H doing? What the hell was that? Then they jump to The Rock. So at first, you're ruining the reputation, you're ruining the liability, you're ruining all of those things of Triple H. You're making people question him. Now, thankfully, he comes out the next following day and he comes out and does everything that he does, and it's amazing, right? Mm-hmm. You figure out, like, okay, well, that is just technically on The Rock. But again, at the very first second, you look and you're like, Well, what the hell was that? And then the only person to blame up front right in that moment is Triple H. So you're ruining his reputation and everything that he has built. That is foolish on The Rock's part. That is silly. So no, we're not. I know I'm not. I'm not going to speak for the both of us, but I'm not mad at anything about the fantasy booking or anything like that. It just has to do with continuity. Like Ango said, it really does in how you make your company look.
And the thing is, right? Like Triple H had the continuity with Travis Scott, but he didn't have the continuity with The Rock. Oh, because The Rock's not showing up.
Yeah, so, couldn't.
So that to me is a very, very big problem. And I'm not mad. Like I said, John Cena, you guys want to know why John Cena's not talking about The Rock? Because they knew The Rock wasn't showing up. He forced Triple H's hand. And Triple H probably did the best that he can do, considering this was the last thing. What are you going to do if you're Triple H? Completely change the fucking storyline? You can't do that. The Rock showed up and
people are going to laugh at you.
Yeah, so this is the thing where it's like your hands are tied, and really what it comes down to is, and nobody's saying this part, but The Rock getting involved here is no different than when Vince McMahon was overstepping with Triple H before he was 100% forced out.
It's the exact same thing. I was just talking about that last night. I was just talking about that last night of how this reminds me of that WrestleMania Night 2 Monday Night After Raw of WrestleMania 39.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, Vince McMahon's here ruining things. Yeah, that's The Rock. And listen, like I said, I'm going to be adamant about this. The TKO will have more loyalty to The Rock than they would to Triple H. And that's fine. Sure. That's fine. It's just a dumb business move.
My thing about it is if you love this company like you say you do, then you're going to do what's best for the company. And I think, and I just know damn well that business people might not agree with it, but their show is better with Triple H running the show than it's been, I think, ever. I'm just going to go out and say that. I don't think there's ever been a time where wrestling, WWE in particular, has been as good as they are now. And you would be foolish to ever let that man walk away in such a hot time right now where you are putting direct asses in seats, right?
Yeah.
You are not only going to, one stadium a year. No, you're doing numerous stadiums a year. And you can say, well, oh, that just has to do with how important our market is. And then look at our margins and look at how much we're making. And we can do that because they're going to buy anyways. They're only going to buy if it's really, really good. And you can make the argument, well, with Vince, no, Vince was doing arenas. And he was barely filling them. I remember going to numerous Vince shows in the later years, 2017, 2018, all of that shit, and seeing half of that place tarped off.
Yeah.
So understand that your wrestling right now is the best that it's ever been. And for all the trolls in the chat, I'm not even able to see you guys right now, but I just know you're there. Understand this, that if this goes, it all goes. So I digress.
I wanted to point out, because there's a couple people in the chat bringing up, well, The Rock didn't book WrestleMania 41. Well, hold on. We're not complaining about the booking of a show. We're not even talking about the show as a whole. We're talking about one specific storyline where the guy who created the story and was a major part of the story basically came out in an interview and said, that really wasn't the plan. Like he's basically denying it. And that's like, you have to be fucking stupid to sit here and act like they're not The Rock. Like, you can't sit here and act like The Rock didn't insert himself into the biggest storyline and then fucking walked out on the biggest storyline. That's what he
walked
did.
Out. Just walked out.
Yeah. That's the issue. So this is not a matter of WrestleMania 41 good or bad. That's subjective. You guys can debate until you're green in the face, blue in the face, till you're fucking purple. I don't care. But
that's not our problem here.
That's not the conversation, because everybody can have their own point of view on what they thought of the show. What we're talking about is an individual who was in a storyline, does not show up to the storyline, then comes out and does damage control for himself and not for the company. That's the issue. And so the thing is, like, TKO at the end of the day just had the biggest event of their life with Triple H's leadership. However, if The Rock keeps doing this, do you think fans are going to get excited about The Rock being on TV anymore? No. I can actually sit here and confidently say, like, I don't need The Rock on TV anymore. That's it. Listen, Ibu from Wrestle Purist was the one who came out months ago and said, yeah, The Rock's got Moana reshoots. Like, he's not going to be able to be there. And you got Dave Meltzer coming out and Sean Ross Sapp all coming out being like, hey, man, like, The Rock is not expected to work WrestleMania. WWE has multiple cards in place if he does change his mind last minute. But then you have The Rock coming out publicly telling fans on Instagram he's going to be there and don't listen to these people. Okay, so then The Rock comes out, Elimination Chamber, sets up a major angle, and then
no, he didn't. He never said that he was going to be there.
No, he did. He said not to listen. He said he's like, don't listen. He told people not to pay attention to these reports, basically indicating he's going to be there, bro.
Yes, it's an indication. The problem with it is, again, that goes to who you're making look silly. He technically was right. He never said he was going to show up. He just told you not to listen to the dirt sheets. That was it. He just undermined everything about a dirt sheet when they were never wrong.
Yeah, but the thing is, which is true, but then the thing that's where things get a little bit more chaotic, right? Because then he shows up and Elimination Chamber happens, and Ary Emanuel knew this because he was on ESPN saying, hey, we got something really special coming to Elimination Chamber. The Rock shows up, right? And they set up this major angle for him to then come out in an interview and say, after that angle was done, right? He tells them the final boss is not needed anymore. The storyline is not about Cena or Cody. The storyline is about The Rock. And then people are like, well, now it makes sense as to why the Mania 41 main event WrestleMania 41 main event was kind of weird. Yeah, it was kind of weird because of the fact that the guy who was supposed to be there was not there. Then he reveals publicly that I wasn't needed. That's not, it was just a temperature check for Cody to turn heel. We just want to do that. Brother, it sounded stupid.
Yeah, I mean, The Rock, he went out there, he tried to do damage control for something that, I mean, bro, I'll even be honest with you. I almost prefer they just be silent about it.
It's going to be funny. It's going to be funny, though, when NXT, when Netflix has that WWE Unreal show, we're going to see how stressed Triple H looks. We're going to see how plans are with The Rock and how things changed.
Footage of the Elimination Chamber and John Cena being in there. I'm very intrigued to see this show now because I want to know how much control this man actually has. Now, granted, who knows how much they're actually going to give us, right?
Of course.
Because, again, this is a WWE problem. This isn't a Netflix problem. But WWE is going to control that narrative. They're going to control what you see and what you don't.
Yes.
So they may say, like, oh, look at all this, but they might just give you the easy stuff, too. You know what I mean? You never know. The cool thing about Triple H was that we knew there was a difference with him coming in, that we were going to get more of a realist side, right? We were going to start to see the ins and the outs of really what was going on behind the scenes when he came in. You kind of seen it with a lot of the documentaries that they pushed out, with Cody Rhodes talking about, and not to get off topic, but, the documentary did talking about AEW or the Bray Wyatt situation and talking about that. I think that was like a sign of like, okay, there's good things to come. So I'm very interested to see if WWE is going to show us what this build actually looked like. I'm so intrigued to know because from my understanding, I'm not even sure that it's true, but I've seen that there was a picture floating around on the internet of the original slated plans for WrestleMania 41, and it did not involve The Rock.
Correct.
So again, this just goes back to I have money, which means I have power and I can insert myself anywhere that I'd like. Yeah. I don't care if you're a Rock fan. I'm a Rock fan, right? I've always been a Rock fan. He looked silly. He looked like a goofball doing what he did. It's dead and simple.
100%. I wanted to get to some of these super chats.
Well, I forgot we had those. I'm so sorry.
No problem. I just want to. I mean, now I think we kind of did what we needed to do there, so that's fine. But yeah, very interesting talking point, and definitely excited about the future. I can't wait to see what actually happens because it's going to be very, very, very interesting.
It's about to be real interesting.
Let's go to these super chats that we got. And as always, chat, make sure you guys get in those super chats. Really quick, there was a tip that came in that I wanted to read as well.
Cool. Using the tip jar.
Yeah. How nice is that? Let's
Right.
see. Pulling that up as well. Tips. Daniel says he dropped a $4.20 tip. He says, knowing now this stuff, I kind of wish Triple H had sent John Cena to tell people on the promo that he did not need The Rock at all. By the way, I saw you on JD's channel. Keep up the good work. Daniel, thank you for tipping. I can't pull up tips on StreamYard, only super chats, but I do appreciate the tip. It's always it's actually always the more preferred method for donations. But I do greatly appreciate that, bro. And yes, I actually wish this was perfectly said.
That was beyond perfectly said. That was like to a T.
You know, John Cena could have cut the promo and been like, hey, you know what? He could have
I don't
said,
need this guy.
he's like, hey, I didn't sell my soul to The Rock. I didn't do this because of The Rock. I sat here for 20 years and
I did it
felt
because
like
I hate you guys.
I hate you guys. And it just so happened that John Cena is now going to do what is best for John Cena. And I kept thinking, the visual of John Cena standing next to The Rock and Travis Scott. Good for business, you know, being Hollywood.
Right.
You know, next to the biggest artist. Yeah, it looks good for me. I was smart enough. I would never sell my soul to The Rock, you know? But I'm telling you right now, they didn't do that. And that is so problematic, bro.
It is, bro. It's silly. It's silly.
But it is true. All John Cena could have done was just drop that promo. I think Daniel's tip was...
They could have wiped clean of it the next day.
And I still think deep down inside, The Rock did not pull out 100% until the very end. I don't believe him one bit.
I know it.
I don't believe that shit for 1 second.
Phone call with John Cena and Cody happened on April 17th.
I don't believe that shit at all. Because now it's like
17th or 18th talking about some, I'm not going to be there, fellas. The final boss is out.
John Cena and Triple H says, or The Rock says it was Triple H's idea, you know, and that's come out where it's Triple H's idea. That's fine. I'm cool with the John Cena heel turn, but it came to you're selling your soul. And then people are like, well, why didn't John Cena talk about selling his soul to The Rock in these promos? It makes sense. But all John Cena had to do was drop a promo and be like, listen, I didn't sell my soul to The Rock. What I did was I saw a moment where I finally realized I don't need you, Cody. I don't need the fans. And I just thought, how great would it be to be blasted all over social media? The visual of me with the biggest hip hop artist and one of the biggest Hollywood actors. Yeah. What a heel, bro.
And here's the thing. Again, turning John Cena heel was Triple H's idea. Okay, so we know who has good ideas. The Rock wanted Cody to turn in the middle of the biggest babyface run of probably the last 30 years.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, he says that Cody's going to turn heel. Cool, bro.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Jesus.
And then The Rock, and then The Rock's going to want to be part of that too, so he'll come back and insert himself.
Yeah. Cody's going to go sell his soul too. We know.
Yeah. Thanks, Rock. Thanks. Shout out to Daniel for that.
So dumb. I feel so dumb.
Yeah. Shout out to David for the $4.20 tip. Tolino Channel kicked things off earlier today with a super chat for 100 rupees. He says, if WWE gives a push to Killer Kross, give him Money in the Bank. Killer Kross is a threat. That pipe bomb I watched today, only 5 years of career in 2 hours and 58 minutes. So yeah, I think the Karrion Kross conversation is definitely needed. I think this guy has shown us consistently that he knows how to use social media and backstage segments, and he knows how to maximize every second possible to make himself relevant.
He doesn't even have to step in a ring.
Which it's now I'm very, very curious to see what they do because of him and AJ. And I loved that segment with him and AJ on Raw. That was just such a fun thing. You know, to me, Karrion Kross, Money in the Bank would be great. I think Money in the Bank would be great. If they do King of the Ring, that would be great.
Yeah, just something to push him forward.
And they have to, bro. They have to. They have to do something to push him forward. I think they are. I think this whole talk of him being on the podcast, it's clearly a work. You know, it wasn't live, so that makes me excited for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Love what Karrion Kross is doing. Anybody who doesn't, I'm questioning your sanity.
You know, and it's funny because his push has been such a long-winded push. It's been Like this whole thing of like, hey, we're keeping him relevant, but we're not putting him in massive matches or massive angles.
Because
But
there was so much deeper. There was something so much deeper to Karrion Kross. Always, I think, from the get up, from the moment he walked back into WWE, when he set that little timer in front of
yeah,
Roman Reigns, it set the tone for the Karrion Kross character, and many of us laughed at him for a long time.
not
Whether
me.
it had been, I'm not saying you, Ango. I'm not saying you. I said many of us. I'm not saying
Yeah.
you. Many people did laugh at him because of the shit that he was doing with the final testimony and
Final
whatnot.
Testament.
Testimony, whatever. Again, there you go. People were laughing at that, but he has kept that character even through that, and even playing the same character through that, whether it had been with Shinsuke Nakamura, whether it had been with AJ Styles, whether it had been with Roman Reigns, whether it had been Sami Zayn, whether it had been the Usos, whoever. He played a part in somebody's mind. He controls your head. And I think that's the coolest part of Karrion Kross, is he doesn't have to physically beat you. He's beating you down mentally to where you have to start thinking about things differently.
Yeah.
That's the cool part about Karrion Kross. So yeah, I'm actually in full agreement with you. I hope they give him King of the Ring, Money in the Bank, something along those lines. Dude, can you imagine the stories that they could tell with that guy as a world champion?
And the thing is, like, his interactions with Sammy and now Sammy and Jay, and everybody's like, it all matters. So what's really cool is the minute that they really do put the rocket on him, I'm excited, because I think that's going to be where the storytelling even gets better. But this is,
Yeah.
I think there's this belief that I have
Mm-hmm.
where wrestling fans just want everything rushed right away, like quick. The Karrion Kross thing is the opposite. And what's really cool is now it's gotten to the point, by the way, where people are like, man, we paid attention to the little things.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get this big moment. Go with it. Now we're going to get impatient. Go with it. Go with it. Go with it. He's such a great talent, bro. He's going to be awesome. I'm excited for him.
He is.
Shout out to Tolino Channel for the super chat. Our good friend Phil dropping the $9.99. He says, if there's going to be a power struggle between Rock and Triple H, we know that Triple H has no chance in that battle. Ary Emanuel loves The Rock, and we know what The Rock said on Pat McAfee's show was a bunch of nonsense. It does feel like everybody kind of saw it as nonsense. I don't think people. I think your anti Triple H people, the trolls. I think they are definitely out there trying to make it feel as if Triple H.
But I think even deep down, they probably know.
Yeah, I think most people realize, like, The Rock's comments were, it was PR. Silly. It was a PR thing for him to save face. And listen, this is the thing for those like if you want me to be honest with how I feel about TKO, I have no problem with TKO maximizing every dollar. I have no problem with TKO doing the advertising, all this, blah, blah, blah. No problem.
It's a business.
I enjoy the product. Do what you want. I don't care, as long as I'm enjoying the product.
Right.
Where I actually dislike TKO is, you want to have celebrities on your show and in the crowd? Cool. I respect it. I love it. I'm all for it. Mm-hmm. But there is like this whole thing where it's like Pat McAfee, The Rock, Ary Emanuel, Nick Khan. If you're like in that group, that clique, you're safe. And everybody else is like not.
Well, it's from the ESPN world. That's kind of what it feels like. It feels like ESPN took over WWE. I know that sounds crazy because obviously they didn't. But it feels like the bros took over WWE. Like, oh yeah, me and my bros, we're going to kick it. And, we're going to go do this wrestling thing. And, that's what it feels like. Versus somebody like Triple H, who is like, has dedicated his legitimate whole life to this. It's not a funny, silly thing. It's doing what's best. It doesn't matter if, and the thing is they've already portrayed it in a way that anything that this guy does will sell tickets. So they're good on that end. But even if it didn't, to Triple H, it was always about the story and the betterment of the story and how to push that forward.
Yeah.
When you have a bunch of bros, hate to be the bearer of bad news, they're selfish people.
Yeah.
They're idiotic.
Yeah.
They don't care about the next person.
Yeah.
You're looking at Triple H, who, comes from a family in Connecticut, things of that nature, probably down to the core, just family driven. This business stemmed from the family. like that stuff plays a very important part. And I think that, just Ari Emanuel, Nick Khan, Pat McAfee, whoever you want to talk about here, those guys, they don't know it because I don't hate these guys. I want to preface before I say what I'm going to say. I don't hate these guys, but if you don't look in the mirror and be like, oh yeah, like what I'm doing is kind of silly and it's selfish, then you're the person in the wrong. And I think that can be said about all of those guys. But again, that's a business mindset too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
No,
why
for
they get
sure.
so far in business, is because they have that selfish mindset.
There's definitely a click, the TKO click. I don't think Triple
Yeah.
H is a part of it.
I don't either. I think he is just the guy to make sure that they sell tickets.
Yeah. Shout out to Phil for the super chat. King David dropping $2. He says, could it be that Vince is behind the guy, The Rock? No.
No.
No. It's been confirmed 100% that the Vince has zero involvement with WWE or anything. I know John Cena had mentioned like that he stays in talks with Vince, and he's friends with him, and
that's friendship. Those are two
yeah,
different things.
yeah. I mean, listen, Vince is not involved. Vince, if he wants a wrestling company, he's got money, he can do it. I don't know. I think it's funny. I do think it's funny when people complain about WWE today,
Yeah.
or even AEW, because then it's like, man, you guys don't remember like how bad Vince really was. But
no, dude, go back to 2018, 2017.
Forget about the dates, bro. Vince McMahon has never wrote a better. Vince has never wrote a wrestling episode better than
what Triple H is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I'm
not
sorry.
a
I
shot.
just don't. I
You
don't
can
think
argue
so.
with me about the Attitude Era. You can do all of that. I just no.
Yeah.
No. I've gone back and watched that shit. And I was like, what the hell?
It's again. There's this narrative that people want to be anti Triple H, and that's fine. And then Triple H doesn't need me to defend him, but I don't think. I think Tony Khan and Triple H are way better bookers than Vince.
For sure, absolutely.
That's just how it is. Shout out to King David for the super chat. Darren Bus dropping $1.99. He says, hi, Ango and Billy. Hi, Darren.
Hey, Darren.
Appreciate the love and support, brother. Thank you for pulling up to the live streams consistently, man. We appreciate
Darren's
it.
Darren's a dog, man.
He is. Appreciate you, Darren. Tolino Channel coming through with 200 rupees. He says, instead of the Triple H Rock saga, let's address The Rock being called to sell tickets. Triple H needs to create stars that turn to box office draws. Once that's done, tell The Rock to show up or not. Who cares? we can't sit here. I can't sit here and have a conversation about WWE not creating stars, because
they do.
They have, and it's very apparent when you watch.
And The Rock isn't needed in everything. Like, if you look at what they're doing with Braun Breaker right now, like, if The Rock touched that, I'd actually be livid.
Bro, you know what's so funny? Is there's a lot of people pushing this theory of like maybe Heyman's new group is The Rock's new group.
No,
but listen, here's the thing. If you want to do a power struggle storyline with The Rock and Triple H, like people were saying at WrestleMania 40.
Hold on. Okay, I didn't hear you out all the way. That's my bad.
It could be good, but I don't want to get excited about The Rock for anything until I know The Rock is committed.
But if you have a power struggle backstage, and if you guys can, come to heads and be like, okay, well,
let's turn this into a real hot angle.
Yeah. Why not? They don't have to go out there and wrestle each other. They have, it goes back to War Games. You got your 5, I got my 5.
Yeah. I don't think that's the case.
There.
Yeah.
But it's WWE,
yeah, and WWE has been creating stars. I mean, it's very apparent when you watch the product and their business. Their business ticket sales isn't because of The Rock. Like Jey Uso being the number 1 or number 2 merchandise seller isn't because of The Rock.
Oh God. It sets me off. Seth Rollins, everything that he's done, nothing had to do with The Rock.
Yeah. They've done a really good job without The Rock, and they don't need The Rock. The Rock makes things funner because we saw what you can do at WrestleMania 40, but I'm good on that, brother.
Yeah, me too.
My main consensus is that The Rock is just not committed as much.
Yeah, dude, I've always looked, with this conversation, it's a pretty simple one. I'm a skateboarder, so I kind of go back to skateboarding. I've always told myself, when I go to do a trick, you have to fully commit, right? That's the one saying that we've always used. The Rock just isn't fully there. He's not in. So he keeps falling on the trick, and he refuses to commit. And if that's the case, just walk away for the day. That's how we've always viewed it.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Toledo Channel for the 200 rupees. Toledo Channel following up with that with 40 rupees. He says, like the Family Soprano like segments. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that NXT based?
No, I think he's saying, like, you know, The Rock, like, if you're gonna have The Rock show up, do it like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, Phil coming through with $9.99. He says you got to be a part of a certain clique to survive. It's like high school all over again. Since Triple H isn't part of that, he's in a situation that he's finding himself in.
Swear to God.
And it's, listen, like, people don't want to admit it, but the truth is, when you watch WWE and you watch everything that's kind of happening, it's like Triple H is the Dana White for WWE. People hate this. Oh, Triple H is the center of attention. Yeah, that's what big businesses do. This is not a popularity contest. Let's, like, be really clear. WWE is not having a popularity contest with your indie darlings or your less than average.
No, they don't care.
Wrestling companies. They're trying to win a popularity contest amongst the most mainstream things. And so you need to have a spokesperson for that. Is Triple H the right guy? I don't know. But I don't even think Dana White is the right guy for UFC to do it. But there is this thing where, like, and I see this on social media, it's that the UFC is this MAGA sphere. Because if you watch UFC, you have Donald Trump, you have Robert Kennedy Jr., you got Elon Musk showing up to events, and, you know, Tony Hinchcliffe and Joe Rogan and all these guys, and then WWE is kind of following the same sentiment.
Yeah.
You know, people say this. What I would like to think is, like, they need a guy who is loved and hated. You know, he's gonna have to take things on the chin sometimes. Triple H could be that guy. There's a reason why Ary Emanuel isn't that guy. There's a reason why The Rock isn't that guy. They have their own personal brands and worries, you know? So it's like Triple H, this is very much like a high school clique, and I think Triple H is being used in that platform. And as long as Triple H
not being in the clique,
as long as Triple H is a good little boy and does what he's supposed to do, and he's a good soldier, then he's fine.
They keep him around.
But if he's not a good soldier for them, then yeah, they're gonna move on from him because there's not a tie there. You know what I mean?
Yep, and we're just witnessing it firsthand, ladies and gentlemen. What was supposed to be something so amazing, guess what? It's still a business, and they still politic.
That's everywhere, bro.
Yep.
Crazy.
But, you know, everybody thought when Triple H ran the show, oh, it's going to be, you know, flowers and roses, and, you know, we're going to share them around. Nope, it's still a business at the end of the day.
Exactly, bro. It's so funny, man. It's so funny. It just this is why I don't like big businesses, bro. Never have, never will.
No.
I pray to God that we, you know, I genuinely love doing this YouTube stuff, and I talk about it all the time. Like, it's the best job in the world. I pray to God I can do this forever because it's the one thing I genuinely love. And I think, you know, I don't know. To me, it just seems like no matter what, I'm always going to cover professional wrestling, but you're going to have your good periods and your down periods. I've had a lot of, I believe it or not, as a content creator full time in the last 15 years, being a content creator, 4 of them, 5 years being full time. I never got more lucky in my life. I went full time when I actually enjoyed wrestling the most.
Yeah.
You know, but there's going to be down times, and there's, like there is with AEW and WWE. I do find it funny. I find it fascinating that we could have a whole conversation about The Rock and Triple H for an hour. Yet you'll have people in chat talking to me or writing about ratings or AEW versus WWE.
Yeah, don't nobody care right now.
Yeah, like, that's so funny to me, but it's, you know, that's how wrestling fans are. It's like you can never stay on topic with, like, for a point. If you want to position AEW bad or WWE bad, you got to do it when it's, like, relevant to the conversation, not just talking about it for the sake of talking about it.
Because WWE isn't bad in this conversation. The Rock is bad. What The Rock did was stupid.
That's how I felt.
That's it.
Yeah.
WWE isn't bad. Look at what they did Monday. Amazing across the board.
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday was great. NXT was awesome.
Yes, NXT was great itself.
I'm now even more excited for SmackDown. I'm really excited for Backlash. Like,
Yeah, like WWE is hot. They still are. The thing about it is you had, this guy come out there and just and not everybody and their mother will know exactly what The Rock was saying. Some people will look at it and genuinely be like, "Oh, well, look at him go." No, we're analyzers. We analyze these things and we look at it from a different, broader perspective. So when
Yeah.
I hear The Rock going on there saying these things, about Triple H or whether it be John Cena and Cody Rhodes, hey, the final boss is out. I'm looking at that, and I watched what happened on Sunday night. I'm now going to question you even more. He's going for that casual fan to just be like, oh, well, The Rock said something, he's good, we can move on.
Yeah.
We're not the casual fan.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. I agree. We got more super chats, and then I would like to invite Phil onto the live show. I just want to have this conversation with you first.
Okay.
But we'll get Phil in here. I'm going to send him the link.
Bring Phil in.
Phil, I'm going to send you a link on Twitter.
My computer still hasn't turned on. I figured everybody should know that.
Nice, dude. Good job.
Mm-hmm. Living my best life over here.
Yeah. Darth Bane dropped a $4.99. He says Santi believes TKO has purchased TNA behind the scenes and will make the announcement soon. This is coming from the fact that Joe Hendry is everywhere. Listen, man, I think everybody needs to understand if WWE bought TNA, it's not that bad. It's not that big of a deal.
No.
If they buy TNA and keep TNA going and they still have their own show and maybe even help TNA get a better TV deal, that's great. I actually would not be shocked if they did buy TNA. I think for the longest time I had a belief that if it were to happen, it would happen years later. But who knows? Maybe they did buy TNA. The fact that Joe Hendry is everywhere is a huge deal. Being at WrestleMania, being on NXT, WWE is clearly very high on Joe Hendry, and that's awesome. Now, what I want to see though is not just Joe Hendry being on WWE programming, but I want to see them get to the point where hopefully, and I genuinely mean this, hopefully they send Joe Hendry some valuable opponents from WWE. Like we have TNA Rebellion this week. I'm super excited about the pay-per-view. Give us a main roster guy or an NXT guy, a very big name to go out there and confront Joe Hendry.
Yep.
That's
Do something special over there, man.
That's what I would love to see, personally speaking.
For sure.
It's an interesting theory. If Santi believes that, man, I wouldn't be shocked. But it is crazy. All of a sudden, they are throwing Joe Hendry all over our face, and he was at WWE World, and now they got merchandise for him.
Yeah, because WWE, sorry, it's a business move. Welcome back to it, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Hendry is popular. They want to show that man off.
Yeah. I just realized I didn't send Phil the link. I only sent it to you. Oops. Yeah, crazy.
We're all having troubles here. I hope Phil's okay. I hope his computer's working. I hope he's sending links correctly.
Yeah.
Because over here, I'm struggling. I'm going through electronic deprivation right now.
Oh my God, you're so extra. You're so extra, bro. Shout out to Darth Bane for the super chat. Brian McHattie dropping $2 super chat. He says, as long as Hunter makes money, he will be in power. And I definitely agree with that. I definitely think as long as he's doing his job and he's making them money and stuff, that's fine. I do think though it is important to pay attention to the dynamic with The Rock being in play. And the reason why I say that,
money you make, morals matter.
Not for business people.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right on the business side, but I think Triple H does have morals.
It's going to be very, very difficult to make money if The Rock keeps coming in and fucking up shit.
Boom. There you go.
That's kind of how I look at it.
Very simple.
Did you just burp?
No.
Oh, I thought he just burped. I was like, what? I'm like looking at the super chat. I just thought I heard a burp. I was like, damn.
No, that's me on my live streams. I do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah, I get it.
Nah.
I feel you.
These poor people that come from they see a whole different light of me over there.
Oh, you're just different out there, huh?
Man, I'm here. I hold myself together for you.
I love it. I love it. Thank you,
Yeah.
Billy. Shout out to Brian McCaddy for the super chat. Toledo Channel coming through with 100 rupees. He says, let's talk about NXT. Good tag match. Noam Dar return. Julia Staff. Inamura pulling Okada comic spot. Hendry Oba. Yeah, I'm definitely down to talk NXT. I wanted to talk NXT. It was really important that me and Billy had that conversation because of the fact that it dropped yesterday and Billy couldn't be on the live stream.
I'm glad that we were able to have the conversation. I was a really big fan of that one.
Well, the thing too is you guys don't realize, like me and Billy, the way our relationship kind of works is like because we talk about wrestling, we've always talked about wrestling off camera.
Yeah.
And so when I decided that I wanted Billy on the show and Billy wanted to do the show, me personally, the way I kind of looked at it was like, this is something that we probably would have talked about on the phone. The whole Rock Triple H thing is something that would have definitely been talked about on the phone.
That was for sure a phone call conversation.
Yeah. Like, bro, you see that shit?
Bro, you seen that stupid shit?
It's crazy. Definitely talking NXT. Phil's getting in here. Thank you, Toledo Channel, for the super chat. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much, man. Guys, more super chats guarantee, like every super chat guarantees that we'll read your comment or your questions. And we're gonna bring Phil in to join us now. And
hey,
let's see how I can make us all fit really quick. Let's see.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Phil? How are you, buddy?
Good. A great conversation today, by the way, with the whole situation that you guys got going on over there. So great stuff.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate you.
Ango has us in circles.
I
kind of like the circle thing.
I honestly kind of like the circle.
I'm kind of digging it.
If it's my setup with this, so
maybe I just have a big head.
Oh, I know I have a big head, so I mean, that's to me, it's just
yeah. Before we continue talking about big heads, no, I'm kidding. With Phil joining us, there was a super chat that we'll all address, and then we'll talk about NXT. Darren Busdrop 499, he says, "Who else should be part of the Heyman family?" This is a very awesome super chat coming in because this was a little bit of a conversation talking point that I had yesterday. I did drop some names yesterday. Yeah. I'm a very big believer of Ethan Page being involved in a faction. As you both know, I was saying he should sell his soul to The Rock long before The Rock fucked us. But I do like the idea of Ethan Page. Pause. Yeah. I like the idea of Ethan Page, and I like the idea of Austin Theory breaking away from Waller.
I said Austin Theory, yeah. That's another good one.
And then one name that I thought about last night because of watching NXT, and I do want to throw this out there into the world.
I have a feeling I know what you're talking about. Maybe
Miles Bourne.
Miles Bourne is a great person.
That is a great choice. I thought you were going with something different, but I like that choice a lot.
Who do you think he was going for, Phil?
I was thinking Nathan Frazier.
So yes, that is always a possibility, and I understand that, and I like that because of his ties with Seth. Mm-hmm. But I really want Fraxium to be together, bro.
That's fair. Yeah.
I really want Fraxium to be together. The tag team division would benefit immensely from that. But I'm saying Miles Bourne because obviously people want to call this group the New Evolution, and he looks like Randy Orton.
Yeah, that's a common go-to.
But here's the thing: Miles Bourne is such a talented guy, and I understand he has some of his speech issues. But this kid is so talented. He's got a great look, great performer. Dude, you want to talk about somebody being the future? This guy is young. He is talented. He's funny on social media, and he's great at getting people to talk.
What else are you going to say, Ango?
Paul Heyman would be the freaking perfect guy to manage him.
All right.
I see a lot of people talking about how this is basically going to be the next evolution and everything like that. But I made a social media post yesterday talking about the Dangerous Alliance and how this kind of reminds me more of that kind of deal where Paul Heyman.
Well, I think that's where somebody like Miles Bourne could fit in because if you remember that, Stone Cold Steve Austin was a part of that in the early years, right?
Yes.
So I think
I was brought to that attention with the whole Dangerous Alliance type deal. So
yeah.
I mean, we really could make this a whole like evolution type deal and everything like that. And now people are trying to call them the Revolution for like their stable name or anything like that, which is funny enough.
Tough. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. That's kind of tough. I like that name. Am I crazy for the Revolution?
Where am I? What happened?
Wait, why can't I have Phil?
Where did I go? Am I here?
You're
guys can
here.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're still here. It's just
God dang it, Ango, what did you do?
small little technical issue, but
there we go.
Whoa.
Oh no, I'm back. Oh wait, no. Okay, we're good.
you're here, buddy. They can hear you.
There we go. So it's definitely going to be very interesting to see where things go. Yesterday in a super chat, I mentioned Drew McIntyre being a part of this, and Ango, you did talk about him as well. Through all the through all the rivalries that Seth and Drew have had over the course of the last few weeks and months, and honestly, since the WrestleMania 40 build with the world title, there was always that respect there between Seth and Drew. And I think that could honestly make a lot of sense for this as well.
Yeah. One thing I did want to point out too, and you guys could kind of react to it, but I've been thinking, obviously, I think it would be cool to see Becky, be part of it. Obviously, yes. I had been talking about that before for a while now, with Becky and Seth being heel and selling their soul to The Rock. Obviously, they could sell their souls together to Paul Heyman. But I'm gonna throw this out there. I kind of want to. I want to manifest this. I want to manifest Bayley.
I would love that. I would love that so much.
Can we just not talk about selling souls anymore? I think you were right. There you go. I got PTSD.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
real,
over
what do you think about
Bayley.
that though?
I like Bayley being a part of that role, big time. Especially with everything that she said on Chris Van Vliet. I think she blurred a lot of lines on there.
Yeah.
Yes. I love Bayley. I think Bayley. I've said this multiple times on multiple occasions to different type of friends groups and all of that stuff, but I have always been a Bayley guy. Whether she was a babyface, whether she was a heel, there's just something about Bayley that I personally have, just loved from the very beginning, and she's honestly just been one of the most overlooked of the four horsewomen, in my opinion, but yet she's been the most consistent. Like one of the most consistent in terms of just the way her character work has gone through and just the way she just goes about the business. She's fantastic. And I would love that personally if she joined Paul with them.
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit yesterday. I feel like she is the most overlooked one. I think nobody really gives her the respect that she necessarily deserves and everything that she's done. And I don't think she's ever really played into that. You know what I mean? And, we could talk about, the heel turn that she had when she turned years ago. But I don't think it would compare to what we would see today, because even since then, so much more has happened. Her match with Io Sky at WrestleMania 40 was overlooked. So many different things. So I think that could necessarily kind of prompt that heel turn a little bit more.
Yeah,
her going heel and being like, having the whole overlook thing be a part of that could only benefit what the story could be. And that's how Paul Heyman can say, hey, look, at the end of the day, I see what you're doing. We all know what you can do. Come over to our side.
For sure.
There's a lot.
Another name that I want to manifest too, and it's just I'm a big fan of her. Jordynne Grace.
Yeah.
Jordynne Grace being a Paul Heyman girl just fits to me too. I like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I watch NXT and I see Jordynne Grace and I see Stephanie and I see Julia, and I think they're all awesome. But I'm looking for like a powerhouse. Somebody just walk in there and fucking walk all over the women's division. Jordynne Grace would be perfect for that role.
Well, can I just be honest with you? As much as I love the bloodline, it felt like, we've been missing that group that was kind of put together not by family, but just by, maybe personal vendettas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is what Evolution was in the first place. I think we've been missing something like that for a long time. And if you guys remember, like, Evolution made the show exciting that, at that time. And I feel like that's kind of what we're going to see here, with the potential of them going on the run, finding a guy, winning the titles. Obviously, it's a little bit different. Ric Flair isn't necessarily what Paul Heyman is, right? Ric Flair was out there wrestling too, You know what I mean?
Ric Flair actually didn't even talk much when he was part of Evolution.
Right. You know what I'm saying? But they always ran rampant. You know what I'm saying? And me personally, I feel like WWE has kind of been missing something fun like that for a really long time.
I don't know what's the whole comparison to Evolution. Like what?
Like where does it stem from? I think when you can look at, I'm so sorry, Phil, if you want to go.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. Honestly, I'll let you go ahead and then I'll just do my point after.
So for me, at least, I think it stems from Roman Reigns wasn't a Triple H guy. Roman Reigns was he was a Vince guy. CM Punk being another guy, he was a neither guy, right? They kind of talked about this. If you look at everything that Seth Rollins has been, he's always been a Triple H guy. You've been a longtime viewer of NXT, so you know that firsthand, right?
Of course.
And I think when you look at the comparison and just like career-wise and where Seth Rollins and Triple H align, it's kind of like they meet in the middle. Like they're almost very identical on a lot of spectrums and a lot of realms. I think that their career path has been very identical, and I think it's easy to say that Triple H is probably back there, maybe not saying it aloud, maybe not being like, oh yeah, this is the next evolution or this is what it's going to be or whatever. But I think taking everything that Triple H did in his career, manipulating it a certain way in his own mind rather than Vince's, and giving that to Seth Rollins. And I think regardless whether he says it or not, you can start to see those comparisons and feel those comparisons.
Yeah.
Very
fair.
I've seen so many comparisons with this whole Evolution type deal with all of them. Rock, you know what, Rock? Yeah. Look, with everything that was happening there with Evolution, Seth being Triple H, Paul Heyman being Flair, with Braun Breaker being like a Batista type angle, and now we're just trying to find our Randy Orton, who is going to be that Randy Orton for this group. And at the end of the day, you can have that be a young guy like Carmelo or Theory or somebody like that of that nature, but I don't know if that's exactly what they're trying to do here, because at the end of the day, we're just trying to find even though what Seth Rollins has been proclaiming since the triple threat build-up and everything like that, the future of the WWE, taking out the cancer that is CM Punk and taking out the part-timer that is Roman Reigns, they're just trying to find, the people that are going to lead the future to the WWE for years to come. And regardless of whether that can be a young and up-and-coming type talent or whether that can be a future guy that has been here, maybe overlooked, maybe not, it's just a matter of how they go about getting that third member. And that third member is definitely going to be very key to the story, because it should definitely be somebody that has ties with both CM Punk and Roman Reigns.
So now that brings us to the next super chat, which is Brian McCaddy. He drops a $2 super chat. And he says, Julia, when called up, needs a voice for talent. So now that makes me very curious to know what you guys think, because I think when I look at this group, I don't think of Evolution. I think of a group of killers. And I think it would be so unique, literally, to have like 8 people in this group. And that's not a shocker, right? Ango always talks about big factions.
We all talked about it, yeah.
Like, this guy loves a super faction. 4 people isn't enough.
No, it's not.
No, especially with something like this, though. Like you have so many.
If you're talking about the future, then yes, you could utilize more than 4 people. You don't just have to focus on the bare bone minimum.
And it doesn't just have to be up and coming talent. It can be veterans that have been overlooked and
I think it's more of a full-time, part-time thing. It's, are you really showing up? Are you really being here? So if you want to use a veteran who's full-time out there running rampant with these guys, sure, why not?
Okay, so let's throw out a couple different things. So
Bronson Reed.
No, hold on. Not yet. That's not how this works.
I know my guy.
I know. I'm gonna throw
you though, bro.
Oh my God, you're starting to agitate me. Where's the shirt, bro? Where's the shirt?
I'll get that merch so quick.
Okay. If I had a computer network, maybe I can figure something out.
Oh my god. Okay,
back to Julia.
Let's back to Julia. Let's get back. I'm gonna throw out some names. I'm gonna throw out some names. You guys say yes or no, and I will give me like a 1 to 2 sentence reason as to why. Don't go long winded because there's gonna be a couple names I read.
Got it.
So we'll start off with Brian McHattie because he said Julia. Billy.
Yes. I'm going to say yes because I think she is the future of where WWE is going.
Okay. Phil?
For this kind of group, I'm personally going to say no, only because I think with Julia and how, she can be positioned moving forward for the women's division, it's I don't think she's really kind of needed or fits this kind of deal.
Yeah, I say no, but the only reason why I say no is because the Jordynne Grace comment.
Okay.
So I feel like Jordynne Grace or Bayley would be better in that situation.
Okay.
Okay. Next name I'm going to say Trick Williams. Billy.
Mm-hmm. With the position of his new character?
Yes.
Yes. 1000%. The reason it writes itself because of how his new character is being portrayed on NXT. So that's my quick answer.
Okay. Phil?
I can see it being the case for sure. I honestly really want to personally mind it, mainly because if you have him be a part of all of this, he can be a future piece of the company, and him being alongside Paul, he can learn a lot, and along with the other people as well. So I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. And then I'm going to throw this name out there as well. And this one, if you guys got to go long-winded, I'm okay with that because this is a controversial name.
Okay.
Kind of. It might not make sense. No. It might not make sense, but it might make sense. And I'm going to explain why as well. Jeff Cobb.
Okay.
Okay. My answer isn't going to be too long-winded. I'm going to say no. Jeff Cobb, I think coming in, I think they're going to start positioning something for Jeff Cobb that is completely separate from this. I think Jeff Cobb himself, him, coming in his later years, he's in his 40s and stuff like that. I think they're just going to want to hot shot him and put him in something, right away. And I don't think this is necessarily going to be the thing. I think Jeff Cobb can stand alone. Me personally, I don't think he needs to be positioned necessarily with anybody. I would be happy. I know we've talked before about like Bronson Reed, Jeff Cobb, and doing like the big man faction. I would not be opposed to that. I just don't think that with the Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, I don't think that's what this has to be at all. Me personally.
Phil?
I'm also going to go with no, only because not just because of what Billy said about him standing out on his own, but with the way that WWE is just kind of positioning this group as of right now, you already have your big power type guy in Braun Breaker that could be the heater for Seth Rollins and what his mission is trying to accomplish. I wouldn't want any of that kind of thing to clash with the Braun Breaker and Jeff Cobb type of element. So I would just have him be on his own personally.
I'm going to say yes. And the reason why I say yes is because I don't want this to be a group where they all have something where they have something in common, don't have something in common. I want it to be filled with randomness. I don't want this to be a group that dresses up like Nexus. I want this group to have every individual have their own identity, but they all have the same common goal, like a true alliance would, right? So it doesn't mean constantly having tag team matches or anything of that nature. The way I would actually bring Jeff Cobb in, by the way, is I would have Jeff Cobb debut at Backlash. I don't know what their plan is for Backlash, but what I would do is I would have CM Punk and Roman Reigns team up against Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins actually winning the match because Jeff Cobb comes in and destroys Roman Reigns. And this would be really shocking to Roman Reigns and CM Punk because this is a guy from New Japan coming in. It would be a big way to make a debut for a guy. And my only argument, and I think Billy, you kind of said it, was like He's coming in his later years in life. They might try to hotshot him, but I think it is very clear that this is a very big angle that's going to have very long-term,
For sure.
long-term effects. Not just a year or two, but like several years. We're going to see this play out. So I would love for Jeff Cobb to kind of be in the mix. And what's cool is eventually when Jeff Cobb has to go for the Intercontinental Championship, all right, his boys just had his back and helped him,
Right.
But this means he doesn't have to be hot-shotted right away into a title picture or something like that. He's going to be at the top of the card with these guys.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
That's why I kind of threw that out there.
I don't hate your take.
Cool. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's why I want to throw out names. I'm going to start with the name, and then I'm going to give you guys my answer, and then you guys can go and answer. This is the last name I'm going to bring up. But I want to talk about Finn Balor. And I know this is interesting for a lot of people, and I'm going to try not to be long-winded. Finn Balor, Judgment Day, it needs to end. Finn Balor, the demon character, needs to come to life. I would very much love Finn Balor being a Paul Heyman guy, and Paul Heyman being the one to help Finn Balor get the demon character back on track, on fire. It's not about fit. It's just the idea of him being paired with somebody that kind of rescues him from this situation. Personally speaking, I would say yes, but I'm open to hearing more. So, Billy, you first.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say, so I want to start by saying this. I do like your idea of whoever the next person potentially is actually kind of happening that way, almost like Paul Heyman is saving them from something.
Yeah.
What that is, I don't know. I would actually be very behind that. Do I think it's Finn Balor? No, because I think the angle that they've already created with, Finn trying in Dom and that storyline, I think they're going to do that. Again, the demon character himself is one of those standalone characters that is going to just go on a really big run. And I think we actually see somebody like Finn Balor kind of get hot-shotted into that world title picture later down the line. Say, for instance, Sami Zayn wins the championship. You can kind of insert either Karrion Kross or Finn Balor into that role. Or, obviously Seth Rollins is going to play a part in that role, CM Punk, all those guys. But at the end of the day, like, there is a world where Finn Balor himself and the Demon don't necessarily need any type of group because he had just gotten out of, such a long-winded, long-taken group. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Fair. Phil.
I wouldn't mind it, but I'm going to go with no as well, only because with just the way that you kind of have to position the Demon and with the way that things are just kind of playing out as of right now in terms of the current storyline that Balor has, you can see him be a part of all of this and make it work, especially with Paul Heyman saving him from the Judgment Day that has kind of been, just they have kind of just pushed him aside to a degree, and they're just not really solely focused on him anymore. They're solely focused on themselves. But if you're going to have the Demon get brought out once again, it's got to be from within Finn's own type of mindset and his own type of merits instead of and to try to take the Judgment Day down rather than somebody else trying to, push the button just a little bit more. So that's why I'm going to go with no.
Yeah, I got you.
Sure.
Shout out to Brian McHattie and Darren for those super chats. Very, very fun discussion, thinking of different possibilities. Tolino Channel coming through with 100 rupees. He says, for me, Evolution was like making Batista and Orton big stars. Braun and the next one are the future. And that's where I do love the idea of Carmelo Hayes. I do love the idea of Carmelo Hayes.
Yes, I love the idea that it would be Carmelo, Braun Breaker, two guys who feuded in NXT, had a tremendous feud there, of it finally just being like, all right, brother, we got to see eye to eye here.
Yeah.
And we gotta get rid of these guys that are essentially taking away from us.
And it would be nice, by the way, just to point this out, if you really want the Andre the Giant Battle Royal to mean something, last year Bronson Reed got a big push after, and it really helped things for Bronson Reed. Now this year, if it was Carmelo Hayes, like Carmelo Hayes were to get involved, that immediately makes him into a big player too. I really hate the comparison to Evolution. I understand why people are making it. I get it, especially after speaking with you guys. But again, I don't want this to be a 4-man group. I want this to be 5, 6, 7, 8 people.
And it easily could be.
Yeah. And like and I'll throw like an honorary mention too, just because of the fact that I do feel like he's kind of been burned a little bit. So it would make sense considering the story. I would love for Sheamus to be in this.
Yeah. When you talk about a veteran, I think Sheamus fits that mold.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of cool things, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer though, and I think that's what's really cool about this is I think whoever they put in here, they will have some sort of plan, which is exciting for me.
It's kind of like what we talked about earlier. Triple H knows how to book a show, man.
Yeah, 100%, man. Speaking of booking shows, they booked a show yesterday called NXT, and I do want to talk a little bit about this. Obviously, I mentioned some NXT names, but what I'll do is I'm going to hand it over to you guys. And I'll be right back.
Okay. I think this is a perfect time, Phil, for there's one specific thing that I know I personally want to talk about, and maybe you'll want to talk about it with me. The whole Stacks and Tony D'Angelo thing, man.
Oh, yes.
I'm very interested to get your thoughts on it right now.
There's a reason why they are my favorite stable in NXT right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that just because of what's going on with them as of right now. I've always been a Tony D guy. Stacks is absolutely fantastic. I was gonna say Lorenzo, that's the same guy. I always forget this man's name. Luca. Is it Crucifino?
Crucifino, yes.
Yes. Luca, I kind of had to grow on him a little bit more, but ever since I've seen him more and more and more, I've always grown to like him. And Rizzo, she's fantastic in all of this.
Oh my goodness.
The way that they have been positioning Rizzo to be with Tony throughout this entire process after the turn and everything like that, and how she's just coming off in the way that she speaks and her tone of it all. She's phenomenal, and I cannot wait to see what they do with her moving forward. But I love what the D'Angelo family have done in NXT. I have so many different types of conversations about this group with so many other friends, and some people say that they're just going to be perfectly fine. Everything's going to be fine. All that Stacks did last night to Luca was that he was just telling them the reason, and they're all just going to go back and be together, be perfectly fine. While the other side is like, oh yeah, Luca got killed off last night, and we're just going to have to figure out what the heck is going to be happening. Where is Luca now? There's a reason why this group is so great in NXT, and I love each and every single thing about them.
For sure. So, for many weeks we were talking about, leading up to this point to Stacks turning, so many of us were talking about like, where the importance of the D'Angelo family is it going to make sense when they go up to the main roster? I think with everything that we've seen last night between Stacks, Luca, Rizzo, Tony, everything made perfect sense to me that not only are these people really good professional wrestlers, they're very good actors too.
They're very actors, yep.
What we seen last night was movie worthy. Whether it be Tony and Rizzo talking about everything that they did, talking about how Stacks and Tony go way back, and Rizzo being taught to fight by Stacks. So she has this loyalty to him. I think there's so much to this storyline that now tells me that these guys, whether they continue as a family, whether they don't, are going to be fine. I think Stacks' role now, he looks more serious. He kind of looks like that odd man out, the bad guy. He looks like the villain who is just turned on everybody. Now he's running and calling the shots. He's pulling up in the car. He's having Luca meet up with him. He's doing all of these things. Tony is the B guy to Stacks now.
Rizzo,
go ahead.
All Rizzo was trying to do to give Tony D a chance to even hear Stacks out on everything is like, let me just talk to him. Let's just get together. Let's just figure this out. And Tony is like, no, there's no going back after what he did at this point now. So at the end of the day, we're going to have to go to war over this, and I don't want you anywhere near it. So I got some people waiting downstairs. Pack your stuff, go into hiding, go to a safe place, because I don't want you to be anywhere near this, because at the end of the day, I care about you too much in order to make that happen.
And what you're about to see, you're not going to like.
Right.
That's very mafia style. Protect the family. Leave the kids at home. Leave the wife at home. We got to go handle business.
And now that Crucifino is basically out of this, because we have no idea what happened to him after the screen faded to black.
They killed him.
I mean, they killed him off basically. But now that that's kind of been the thing, now we can solely focus on Stacks and solely focus on Tony and let them go at it.
I just want to say, I do believe that this ends up with Tony going up to the main roster by himself. I think that Luca and Rizzo will both turn on Tony.
Ooh, I don't know, bro.
Listen, and hear me out. I know this is long. This may be a long-winded one. And it may be hard to see right at this very moment, but I think the potential here is for Tony to go up and just be Tony D'Angelo, and he could still play that character, but I do think that you see somebody like Luca Crucifino and Rizzo turning on them, and then just kind of having Stacks be the member of the family and being that new Tony D'Angelo down in NXT.
I have a much different theory. I actually believe what we saw with Luca Crucifino was him being written off.
Okay.
And because he's doing stuff in Evolve as well. And right. I think Luca Crucifino is going to get repackaged. And that's why he was killed off in the desert. They're obviously not going to show you. It's like when they did the whole thing with swimming with the fishes, right? Like that's how they do the Tony D'Angelo.
Yeah, they're not going to show you. They don't have to, because that's the whole. It's the mafia vibe. You don't want to see what's about to happen.
It's all on your mind now. What happened to Luca? They want you to. They want you to think.
That's the problem. I think that's the problem. I don't think you can just write him off right away. I don't. I think it's too deep now, because now there's too many questions. So that's where I think mine kind of plays into factor, that if you want to keep this storyline going, and I'm not saying you have to, and I'm not saying that that's 100% what they're going to do or the right thing to do. I just think that, again, we get left more with a cliffhanger from this, and eventually him just getting repackaged and just turning into something. Well, I mean, no, obviously we know Luca Crucifino isn't dead. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's aware. And I think that would be silly of Shawn Michaels to just try and portray it that way and not give me some sort of answer.
That's the flavor of NXT, my boy, that I absolutely love. So I'm all for it. I don't care.
Okay.
I just personally believe that Rizzo is going to be she's going to be the sole factor as to who, at the end of the day, she's going to be siding with the most. I personally do believe that if you're going to be having Tony D on the main roster, I would want to have somebody like Adriano Rizzo by his side. But when it comes down to the eventual match that we are going to be having between Tony and Stacks, Rizzo coming back and ultimately trying to figure out in her own like head of like, do I stay with the person in Tony D that has had my back throughout this entire time and have only done what good for me so that I can go into hiding, so that I didn't have to see any of this that go down? Or do I go with Stacks because he was loyal to me? He taught me how to fight. He was loyal to me, so why can't I be loyal to him? She's going to be a huge part of all of this.
If WWE is smart, NXT, loyalty, I just know this, based on, personal life, all this, loyalty is everything. And I think people will always stay loyal to the people that they, and I'm not saying that everybody will. Some people are snakes. But again, that would just make this whole thing with Stacks kind of pointless, right? If she just, stayed loyal with Tony D, knowing damn well that the person who did everything for her was Stacks. Just my personal take on it.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too, when it comes to Stacks, oops, almost knocked my mic over. That was sick stuff, bro. I just loved it. I don't know.
And while you were gone, I was talking about it for a minute.
I know,
dude. It was a movie. It was a movie.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And props to you for calling the Stack stuff out for a minute. And obviously he didn't go to Dark State,
Yeah, but the
in
heel turn
general,
for sure.
but I think I reflect a lot on our conversation that we had that day about Stacks and whether or not he can do it and be good at it and that kind of thing. And like, I think for me, wow, I gotta stop hitting my mic. I think for me, what was really cool about the whole Stack situation was I've been wondering if he could be on his own. I think after what we saw Stand and Deliver, and then of course between that Stand and Deliver, and then what we saw in NXT last night, I'm sold on it. So
for sure,
I think my big concern to you is I don't think he's ready. I don't think he could do it. I think within the last 2 times I've watched NXT,
your mind may have changed. Yeah,
it did. Yeah, which is cool. I think that's the best part about when you watch NXT and you could kind of see that happen. It's like it's good, you know.
For sure, absolutely.
So there was another super chat, which I'm glad this got brought up in a super chat. I'm curious because this is a thing that I definitely am excited about. Tolino Channel says Chase U coming back. Will Chase win gold? So yeah, we got the return of Chase University, which part of me thinks Shawn Michaels and WWE just are conflicted on what to do with Andre Chase and Chase University. Right. It feels like for the last 2 years now, it's been a weird situation.
Well, they told the story of it breaking up and then kind of collapsing, and then you just have the rebuild right after.
Yeah,
like there was really no middle part to him, like trying to go out on his own or anything like that. They just put them back together.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about it? What do you guys think about Chase U being back?
I mean, it's new members. It's obviously new people. I mean, I love Andre Chase. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. I really do. I enjoy him. But I think, again, Ango, like you said, just not knowing necessarily what to do with him, but wanting to keep him relevant is something that WWE is currently trying to do right now.
Do you think it's about keeping him relevant or trying? And I say this for a reason. Duke Hudson's gone from the company. Thea Hale got away from it. Yeah, she's on her own, which I think is a good move. Mm-hmm. Do you think this is because they need to put other people over and using Chase University as a vehicle to do that works?
Yes, I do think so. I think that is a heavy factor in how you push new people forward, especially like people from Evolve, maybe, right? Bringing them in, pushing them forward that way, putting them with Chase University, kind of giving them that initial rub from Andre Chase, and then moving them forward. I think that is a huge underlining factor of something that WWE may want to do as an elevation status thing.
Yeah, so that's interesting to me for a variety of reasons, because I do think Chase University will be a fun act on the main roster, but now without Thea Hale and Duke Hudson, we'll see how they. We'll have to see how they go about it, but that does intrigue me definitely.
Can you see them going heel?
I think it would be so fun because.
Yeah, imagine if they did like a more darker version of Chase U.
I don't think they should right now. I don't think they should because they got Dark State being the heel faction right now. But
right,
yeah,
it's very interesting to me to see how this whole Chase U, like reunion type deal is going to be coming about because this is probably going to be coming to a little bit of a shock. But at the end of the day, at first, when I saw Chase U be a thing, I wasn't for it at first because I had no idea what the heck any of this was really going to be. But then all of a sudden, as I continued to watch NXT and I saw it just continue to get so much traction and so much popularity as it did, I'm like, obviously something's here with this, right?
Well, it's fun.
And if you're going to bring this back, to me, it's not going to feel exactly the same as we did have it in the first iteration. And I know it would never really be, the same because we all know that Duke is out and Thea is on her own. But it's going to have to be a little bit more. I'll have to just try to consider this like reunion type deal as a way to just get other people over to whoever the two people that have been with Andre throughout that entire ordeal of getting Chase U back. I have never heard of any of them. Are they new? Because, like, at the end of the day, I've never seen them up until the very point to where we just see them as of right now trying to get Chase back to what he is.
Yeah,
Because
I don't
I've never
know.
seen him.
I don't recall seeing them, but I think like maybe they're obviously NIL or PC guys.
Yeah.
I don't
So,
know.
I mean, they could obviously be a part of all of this. They have to be a part of all of this, considering that's how Chase was able to get the confidence to bring the university back. It's just a matter of, if you're going to be doing this, getting those guys over in a way to where we can actually see them more often and actually try to, figure these guys out. It's going to be very interesting because, I mean, the sequel isn't always greater than, the original. So we'll see how things go.
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
agree. I think that's the perfect way to end, man. Almost 2 hours long.
Hey,
And the two best parts of NXT last night was that. So but very, very, very fun live show. This was a great stream, almost 500 viewers. Awesome stuff, man. Guys, Phil and Billy are on TikTok and YouTube, so make sure you guys check them out. And then of course click subscribe because we're almost at 100,000 subscribers. I think this is the perfect way to end the show. So I appreciate you guys being on here. And
of course, thank you.
yeah, man. Thank you, fellas, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Peace.